Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we will look at solving linear and literal equations. So this here is a linear equation. By solve it, I want to find a value that I can substitute for x here and here that makes it a true statement. So the idea is we want to undo everything that's been done to x in the opposite order to BIDMAS, but sometimes before you start undoing what's been done to x, you need to make the equation easier to work with. Because x is on the bottom of the fraction, it's not that easy to work with. I'm going to get rid of the fraction over here by multiplying by the denominator. The idea when you're solving equations, what you do to one side of the equation you must do to the other. So if I multiply the left-hand side by the denominator x minus 1, I'm just left with that. Now, if I multiply the left-hand side by x minus 1, I must also multiply the right-hand side by x minus 1. So I'm left with this. Now I'm going to expand the brackets on the right-hand side. So to solve this equation, I really want the x's to be in one spot. So if you have pronumerals on both sides of the equation, subtract the one with the lowest coefficient. This one has coefficient of 1, so it's the lowest coefficient. I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So 4x minus x is just 3x. So now I'm left with a pretty easy equation to solve. These first few steps were just to make the equation much easier to solve. Now I can start undoing what's been done to x. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides to undo subtracting 4. Then I'm going to undo timesing by 3 by dividing by 3. I just get x equals 5. That's the solution because 5 plus 11, 16, over 5 minus 1, 4, does equal 4. If I substitute x for 5, it makes this a true statement. So sometimes you need to solve literal equations. So they're equations like this. We're not going to come up with a numerical answer. Solving literal equations basically means you're making something else the subject of the equation. The subject of an equation is just what's by itself. So for this equation, m is the subject. I'm going to rearrange this formula so x1 is the subject. So it's x1 equals something. So again, what I'm going to do is multiply by the denominator here so I can get rid of this fraction. So I really want this one by itself. So the next step I can do is divide each side by m. So now I want to get rid of this x2. I get rid of it by subtracting. So now I've got negative x1 by itself, but I wanted just x1 by itself. So my last step here is I'm going to multiply each side of the equation by negative 1. Remember, you can do whatever you want to one side of the equation as long as you do it to the other. So if I multiply this side by negative 1, this just becomes a positive, this fraction here becomes a negative, and I'm done. When solving literal equations, you don't get a number as your answer. I've just got a whole heap of letters. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.